depending on where you are. Hopefully you are having a lovely time, whether it's evening, morning, wherever you are. Cool. Welcome to our first ever live cruise Q&A here on Cascade's channel here on YouTube. I thought this would be a great idea to have a live stream where some of the questions that you guys have been asking on the Facebook and on YouTube itself, I could go through, give you some answers, give you some information, but also just share some tips and tricks. Now, I've got some questions that have been asked over the last week on Facebook, so I've prepared some answers for those. So the way this is going to work is I'm going to go through some of the questions that I've been asked on Facebook, both in the Carnival Pride Facebook group, the Carnival Celebration Facebook group, and just some of the other cruise groups I'm in on Facebook. Now, a lot of the cruise questions that we did get this week are to do with specifically the Carnival Pride cruise that's coming up for the Norwegian fjords, which I will be lucky enough to be sailing on with you guys. So there are going to be some questions that will seem irrelevant to some, but I hope you get something informational about the Pride if you're not sailing anyway. But there are a few questions as well that are general to cruising and to the channel, and we're going to hold these live Q&As every few months because I think it's a really good opportunity to get in touch with each other, to share tips and tricks, best practice, and really help each other. Not everybody likes to plan. A lot of people on cruises, they like to just turn up and let days happen as they do. They don't like the stress of having to plan, whereas me, I don't like the stress of not having a plan. And so for me, I like to find out as much information as I can about ports, about cruise lines, about cabins, about everything, and then I'll bring it on here to share it with you guys. So without further ado, let's start with some of the questions. So the first question I got was from Erin. So hi Erin, I hope you're watching. If not, hopefully you're watching on repeat later. And she's asked, where does Carnival dock when it visits Allison in Norway? Well, the answer to this is that the ship will actually dock in the main cruise terminal, which is known as Cruise Piers Allison. It's in the south of the town, in a place called Kaiser Wilhelms. I probably pronounced that completely wrong. But yeah, it's a really, really easy to find terminal. It's right the south of Allison, and it's walking distance from most of the town. So it's a really convenient place to be, and it's easily found. If you Google Maps it as well, you can. So if you type in Cruise Piers Allison, you'll be able to find it there, and you'll be able to see the walking distance between that and some of the sites. Okay, I got a question from Aaron Ward. This one was quite an interesting one. So he says that, do they take your baggage at the cruise terminal when you get there? Do you board the ship immediately, or is there time to walk around the port, or in this case Dover, for an hour or two before boarding? Or if you board earlier in the afternoon, are you allowed to get off the ship and take a couple of hours in Dover before setting sail? Well, quite a few questions there, but I can see where he's getting at, and I'll break it down for you. So when you do arrive at the cruise terminal in the morning, or in the afternoon I suppose, no matter whether you're driving or if you're arriving by bus or taxi or anything like that, the first thing you'll do is drop your bags off to the porters outside. They will take the bags and they will get them checked in, get them delivered to your stateroom later on that day. Usually you sort of get your bags in sort of late afternoon, early evening on the first night, which is why generally on the first night of a cruise, the dress code is generally come as you are, sort of cruise casual, because they know that not everybody will have had their luggage, and even if they have had their luggage, they might not have had time to get their clothes ironed or pressed and things like that. And so it's pretty much quite a casual evening on the first night. It's also, for a little tip for you, if you're in Carnival, the first night, because of this, in the steakhouse, you do get a free bottle of wine if you book the steakhouse on the first night, and on the first elegant night as well. So those are really good opportunities to get a free bottle of wine. If you don't like the cheap bottle of wine that you get for free, they'll also give you a discount instead off of a full bottle of any bottle on the menu. So really good opportunity to get in there and go and try the steakhouse. David's Steakhouse on board the Pride, for example, is very, very, very good, and it's very unique because it's inside the funnel, so everything's slightly pink, and it's very cool. But the rest of your question, once you've given your luggage to the porter and that's been loaded onto the ship, you can then, if you want to, head off into Dover and have a walk around, as long as you're making sure that you're back in the terminal to check in for your boarding time. Now, pre-COVID, there was just a sort of a time that you should arrive and the latest time that you need to arrive by. Now everything's sort of staggered, so you have an arrival time, and if you arrive before that, there is a very real chance that they will turn you away. Now, I've been on a few cruises since the restart, not with Carnival but with other lines, and generally they say, oh, we're very strict with this time, you can't arrive before that, but I've arrived earlier than that on a couple of occasions and they've just let me through, nobody's really checked. But saying that, if everybody does that and everybody turns up early, then it's going to be chaos at the terminal. So if you don't have to be there early and you can just do something like walking around Dover for a couple of hours beforehand, please do that, enjoy your day and make the most of it. So yes, you can walk around the port if you wish to, just make sure you're back for your allocated boarding time, because once you go through the embarkation process and you get onto that ship, you've gone through security, very similar to airport security, you've got your cards, you will not be allowed to come back off into Dover or wherever your port of embarkation is. You'll be on that ship until it sails away, because you then have to be there for the muster and all of that, and basically you'll not be able to get off the ship until the first port of call. But I do know some people do exactly what you're asking and drop their bags off in the morning and then go and explore the port, especially if they've just arrived and they want to have a look around. So that's perfectly a reasonable thing to do. Make sure as well that you have your Carnival luggage tags on any of your check bags, because it is a nightmare for people to find where your bags need to go if you don't have them, and it just makes life so much easier for everyone. So thanks for that question, that's a really good one. I think a lot of people will probably think about that and think about going in and exploring their port of embarkation, whether it's Dover or Baltimore, Miami, wherever it may be. I've got a question from Jan. She says that I loved my Alaska cruise and it's part of the reason I booked Norway. She'd like to know the similarities and differences to expect, also the best area on the cruise to see wildlife. So similarities will definitely include scenery. Just like Alaska, there are waterfalls, beautiful scenery, beautiful greenery to see around this area, and very similar sort of scenery as well. Now, if you have an inside cabin or an interior cabin, you'll want to ensure that you find a great place on the upper decks to get great views of sail in and sail away, and also be aware that views, of course, will be varied based on your balconies and things like that, because for example, if you're sailing out of one place, it may well be that the view is on the right of the ship. So if you've got a balcony on the left of the ship, it may be that you will get a better view on sail out rather than sailing in. So be aware of that and sort of plan accordingly to where you want to be. Now, another similarity between an Alaskan cruise and a Norwegian fjords cruise is what to pack. Just like Alaska can be cold and really sunny and warm, same in the fjords. It's very unpredictable and it's changeable. You could go into port in the morning and it'd be gloriously sunny and warm, but by the end of the day it could be quite cloudy and cold. So it's all about layers in the fjords, so make sure that you've packed layers. I, for example, have made sure to pack a very lightweight raincoat. So this is a perfect thing that you can go over your jumpers or your sweatshirts, whatever you're wearing. You can put that over what it is and it's fine, and it can be packed away easily. There is a lot of rain, especially in places like Bergen, quite known for being one of the wettest places in Norway, so rain is quite likely, especially in June. For people who don't know, June is considered to be the sort of cross between winter and summer, sort of spring, summer in the Norwegian fjords. It's when you'll see a lot of the waterfalls being really active, because the snow and ice will have started to melt and therefore they'd be quite active and really, really nice to see. A big difference between Alaska and Norway is the history side of things. So one thing about Norway that you'll learn and go in the ports, for example, is all about the Viking culture and how things were. You'll see lots of the architecture and buildings and things like that from the quaint sort of olden times, which you'll see less of obviously in Alaska. So that's something really big I love. There's lots of museums and lots of artwork in Norway to see, and it's just a very interesting and unique place. When you look around, you know you're in Norway. It's not like anywhere else in the world. The wildlife is an interesting one. So most wildlife in the Norwegian fjords is actually further to the north than where this cruise goes. In places like Svalbard, where you'll find polar bears, which would be awesome. But we're not going quite that north. And so what we will find, there is a big possibility of seeing sperm whales and orcas, which might swim along the side of the ship, which would be awesome. They're quite common in the fjords. You'll also see a lot of birds. Now, seabirds that are quite common in the fjords include like the white-tailed sea eagle as well as Atlantic puffins. So you may see them. On land in the fjords, you also see reindeer, and particularly as far north as we go, you may well see otters and Arctic foxes as well. So these are bits of wildlife you'll see in the fjords. I can't guarantee where they will be. Obviously, we're going to civilized areas, but in places maybe like Olden and Skilden, where they're smaller ports, you may well see them because they'll be a little bit more used to the sort of outside area. Next question then is from Laurie. It said, question is about the trains from London to Dover. Do we need to book now, or can we wait until we get to the station? Also, do we need to be tested when arriving into London? Now, in the UK, more often than not, it is cheaper to buy your train tickets in advance. Train companies in the UK start issuing their tickets 12 weeks in advance, and the cheapest tickets, known as an advance single, are very good value, and they do come, however, with the caveat that if you buy an advance single ticket, it's generally only valid on the specific train you've chosen. So for example, if you've chosen an 11:15 train and you miss it, or you decide to change your plans, that ticket will be null and void. The only way you can use it on another train is if it's been cancelled by the train company. So you do have to know exactly what your plans are if you're going to use an advanced single ticket. Other tickets you'll be able to get are things like off-peak returns, off-peak singles, things like that, or anytime singles. So do check the tickets. If you are going to book a specific train, then make sure you check, so not if you have a specific train, if you're going to book an off-peak ticket, make sure you're travelling at an off-peak time. Now, what that means is basically time-wise, you won't be able to travel on an off-peak ticket between sort of 8:30 and 10 in the morning, or between sort of 5 and 6:30 in the evening. It's basically commuter times when people are going to be using the trains to get to and from work. This is peak time and you need a peak ticket. The reason why they need to keep those trains less desirable to the casual user so that people can get home and get to work, basically. Now the question about testing. You won't need to test to arrive in London or anything like that, but you will obviously need a test to satisfy Carnival's requirements to board the ship. Now the current rules for testing, which I will cover later in great detail, are that you need to be tested within 72 hours before embarkation if you are up to date with your vaccines. So that means for the cruise on the 10th of June, the earliest you can get a test to satisfy Carnival is the 7th of June after sort of 5 p.m. So keep that in mind, but as I said, I'll cover testing in more detail soon. Now I have seen a couple of messages pop up. I'm not great at reading these as we go. There are some questions in there. I have seen a couple of them. I'm not going to be able to answer all of those straight away, but ones that I did see just now was how Brexit has affected my cruises. To be honest, not really. The only real difference that Brexit has had when it comes to cruising, I think, is if you are going on a cruise that departs from a different country. So for example, a lot of you guys are flying from the US here. I've sailed out of Rome with Norwegian, as you can see on the channel and some of the other videos, and the only real difference is coming back from Rome, having to go through full immigration because of not being part of the EU anymore. So we used to be part of what was called the Schengen Agreement, which was all EU member countries can freely travel around other countries in the European Union and not have to basically go through full immigration. You just go through the EU passport gates and it's a lot easier and quicker. Whereas now we have to queue up and go through the all passports area with everyone traveling from outside of the EU. So that's the only real difference, I think. Yeah, I can't think of anything else. Any other questions that do pop up in the stream, I will try and answer for you in a future video, or you can reach out to me directly and I'll get those answered for you. So the next question I have is very specific. So this is from John on Facebook. He says that we arrived at Heathrow about 11 a.m. on June the 10th. We purchased the shuttle service from Carnival for trip to Portside and Dover. Where does the shuttle wait at Heathrow? And does the shuttle have multiple stops during return to Dover, or is it an express? Is there a long wait for the shuttle to arrive? And does the shuttle arrive at a specific time during the day? Also, is 11 a.m. arrival sufficient time to arrive before the 5 p.m. sail away from Dover? So, great question regarding the shuttle, because I think a lot of people will be booking the shuttle to get there just to make life easier for themselves. They don't want to necessarily risk messing up the trains on their own or something like that. So having it booked with Carnival gives them a little bit of peace of mind. So the Carnival booked shuttle for the airport is run by a third party known as Intercruises Shoreside and Port Services. And at Heathrow, the way this works is a member of their crew will be at each of the arrival halls within the airport. So that's Terminal 1, 2, 3 and 5. And the same for Gatwick in both South and North terminals. So there'll be somebody there with a clear Carnival Pride sign that will be the person to meet, and there are going to be multiple times for that, and I'll go through that shortly. For those staying in London for a few days before the cruise and wanting to still get a shuttle to Dover, you can book one through Carnival, even though it's not coming from the airport, and that will actually go directly from Victoria Coach Station. The option here is slightly different, so there's only one time for that one. But again, you can book that directly through Carnival, so that's really, really useful, I think. So, if you are going through the coach station, you'll be able to see on all the departure screens, you just look for Carnival Pride to Dover, and then you'll be able to go and get that. There's one, as I said, it's 11:30, so it's 11:30 a.m. and it'll take you directly to the port. For the ones from Heathrow and Gatwick, they operate at 10 a.m, 11 a.m. and 12 noon. So make sure that you book the right time and make sure you get there in plenty of time. So with your case, John, you have an 11 a.m. arrival, which means the option for you would be the 12 o'clock shuttle with Carnival. So make sure you get through with plenty of time. And now that can be a little bit of a rush because you do have to do baggage claims, so just try and be aware of that. Make sure that you're off the plane as quickly as you can and try and get through just to make sure that you get there in plenty of time. Arriving at 11 a.m. at Heathrow or Gatwick is perfectly reasonable to get there to Dover by 5. Just make sure that you're aware of embarkation times or anything like that that's on your boarding pass. Okay, Karen asks, I'm interested in anything that has to do with currency in Norway and in England. ATMs, debit and credit cards, PIN numbers, exchanging currency, and how much to take. Also, gratuities on excursions and the ship as far as what type of currency to use. So, great question. A lot of people mistakenly think of euros when they think of Norway because they think it's in Europe, but neither Norway nor the United Kingdom will accept euros. It's not the currency. In Norway, the currency is the Norwegian krone, and in the UK, we use the Great British Pound. So with Norway, cash is not really a big thing. They are similar to the rest of Scandinavia, so Sweden and Denmark. They're very much moving away from using cash and becoming quite a cashless society. So all major credit and debit cards, that's your Visa, your MasterCard, your American Express, all be acceptable in most places in Norway. Now, of course, when you think about wanting cash to tip tour guides, then that is something you may want to do. You may want to draw out a little bit of Norwegian krone before you travel if you are sought to give gratuities to your tour guides. So that's an option. Do remember to check the currency conversion rates because krone is quite a lot. So like 200 krone is not $200. It's a very different exchange rate. So do check and make sure that you're not giving away massive amounts of money as a tip when you're only trying to give a small amount. Now, it's interesting you mentioned the PIN number because this is something I've only recently learned is that a lot of Americans don't know the PIN numbers for their credit cards because you don't use them. You use, I think you swipe it and sign. So Yes, you will need to know your PIN number if you are going to use a credit card in both the UK and in Norway. We do use contactless and Apple Pay, Google Pay, Android Pay, those sort of things. But if you're using your card for contactless or using it for just general payment, you will need to know the PIN, because occasionally, even with contactless, it will trigger a PIN check for security reasons. So yeah, do try and find that out from your credit card provider before you travel. So when it comes to the ship, even in Europe, Carnival works completely on US dollars. And that's interesting because I've just come off of an MSC cruise, and while they're sailing in the UK, or from the UK, they change everything to being UK currency. That is not the case with Carnival. Everything will still be in US dollars, so use that exactly how you would if you were sailing out of the US. That goes for tips, gratuities, everything on board as well. It's interesting to note as well, on Carnival, you can draw out cash from the casino, and you can have your currency exchanged on board at guest services. So that's always something to think about. Now, the dreaded conversation about testing. I said we'd get back to it, so here we are. So this has been a bit of a drama on the Facebook groups recently and on other places as well. Do the COVID tests need to be proctored or observed? Now, yes, is a short answer. This has been a nightmare, and I want to apologise personally for the confusion, because I have told you guys previously that you do not need to, and that is because John Heald a while back said that fit to fly certificates, which are what we get here in the UK from home tests, they're certificates that say that they've seen your result, but you send a picture of your test and then you get a certificate back. This is not acceptable. It's been termed now. John Heald originally said that they were, but I think he misunderstood what type of test we were talking about. He's now confirmed that the home tests are only valid for this cruise if they've been monitored or proctored. So that's either on site, going to a testing facility and having the test done in front of somebody, or you can do a proctored test, which is an online video call where somebody, a medical health professional, can verify that they've seen you take the test and they provide that certificate. So these will all be acceptable. If you're wanting to do this in the UK, there are a number of providers that are really good value. I've only listed the ones that are, I feel, a good value and a good price and not taking the mick too much. So you have DAM Health, DAM Health. They are £22.49 for a test, and they are on site. So you just pop in, make an appointment, you go in, you have your test, and you get your results back within sort of 1 to 2 hours. We did this for the Norwegian cruise that we went on in September last year, and we had our test results before we'd even gotten home. So it was really, really quick, and that's why I'm going to use them again. You can also use some of the pharmacies. So Boots, for example, in the UK is the equivalent in the UK of, say, Walgreens or CVS. You can book them online. It's £30, a little bit more expensive, but you can go into any of the branches and they're literally on almost every major street in London. So if you're in London, perfect. Lloyd's Pharmacy is another one. And then there's the company Cured. That's Cured with a Q for some reason. And they do the video proctored tests, and they're quite cheap as well. So all of these are under £30. A really good opportunity to get those tests done while you're in the UK if you don't want to do it before flying, or if you're flying over more than 3 days before the cruise. So yeah, those are the ones you will need. If you have got home tests from before which you thought were going to be usable but aren't anymore, please try contacting the provider. I was able to get a refund on mine in the form of a voucher, or I could pay the extra to upgrade it to an on-site test. So this might be an option. Alternatively, keep the tests you have, because there's never going to be a bad reason to not test before you go as well. You can use these and test yourself just to make sure you know that the paid for test that you're going to be doing later is going to be negative. It's just peace of mind. So somebody's asked as well on Facebook what cruises I have booked at the moment. So obviously there's the Carnival Pride that's booked in June, which I'm really excited about, going to the fjords. It's a cruise I've wanted to do for a long time. I was booked to do this cruise on the Legend back in 2020. Obviously that got cancelled. I then was going to do it in 2021. That didn't happen either. And so this is the third attempt to do the Norwegian fjords. So I'm really excited to do this. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it a lot. Next cruise after that, I am booked on the transatlantic inaugural sailing of Carnival Celebration from Southampton here in the UK, heading straight to its new beautiful home port in the new terminal they're building over in Miami. I'm really excited for this ship. The design is stunning. There's so much to do, so much to see, and yeah, I really like the big mega ships. I like to keep myself busy, and yeah, really excited. So that one. I'm also currently in the process of looking at prices for a couple of cruises for next year. I'm considering Sky Princess. I did a 3-day staycation cruise on Princess this past year and really loved it. Really want to go back to Princess again, and so this is an opportunity to do a 7-day Spain and France cruise out of Southampton on Sky Princess and really enjoy that. Other ones I'm considering a transatlantic with Royal Caribbean, which is on either Odyssey or Anthem of the Seas next year. Considering potentially the transatlantic on Jubilee for Carnival. And I definitely also want to do another Norwegian cruise. So I've looked, there's a couple of great Mediterranean cruises on Norwegian, which I'm considering. If you have any recommendations and you think, oh, this would be a really good ship or a really good itinerary for you, let me know. I'll be interested to hear. Okay, let's have a look at the next question. So I get a question from Barbara, which says, will we be able to see the cliffs of Dover while the ship is coming into or leaving the port of Dover? And is Carnival Medical equipped with antiviral medications like Plaxidid, should someone come down with COVID and need it? And finally, is the Carnival Pride's Wi-Fi strong enough to handle a proctored COVID call? So, the cliffs of Dover, yes. In fact, we're actually going to have an amazing view of this because the way that we sail from Dover is we're coming out of Dover, turning left and then going straight north up to Norway. And so we're literally going to sail past the White Cliffs of Dover and Dover Castle on the view. So make sure for sail away you are on the left of the ship so that you get all of these views. Get binoculars, get a good camera. We are going to have a lovely, amazing view of the cliffs. Let's just hope for good weather, for good visibility. Yeah, it will be absolutely brilliant. So awesome, yeah. Okay, let's have a think. So the medical question. I wasn't able to get specifics about what they do carry, but I am told that they are stocked with lots of medication for lots of different issues, and they've been well prepared for any possible COVID outbreaks or any issues there. So yes, they will be, I can't comment on specific drugs that they may or may not have, but they will be prepared for it. So let me just have a couple of seconds to check some of these messages that have been coming through, because I know you guys have been keeping it very busy there. Okay. In Heathrow, what is the normal timeline to get through customs and immigration? Very good question. Heathrow is quite efficient. So I would say going through customs and immigration on an average day will take you about an hour. Nothing more than that. Much better than sometimes when I've gone to the US. I travel a lot into Orlando, and sometimes that takes 3 hours to get through because they have so many transatlantic flights arriving at the same time. But no, Heathrow splits things out into different terminals quite well. It's not as bad as other countries, so yeah, you should be fine there. Okay, next question. Catherine, this is a 3-pack, but you can get a single one. My husband and I have used these tests for 7-pack. Okay, brilliant. Yeah. Crystal Cruise question for me. Luke and Gavin on the Cruise Monkeys YouTube channel routinely take formal wear for dining in the specialty restaurant. Is a tux on a cruise in your future? Well, you say maybe. I do not own a tux. Some of you may know that I recently lost a lot of weight over lockdown, and so I'm in the process of buying new clothes to look as nice as possible. So why not a tux? I do not have one. I think I should get one. Cruise a lot now and for the vlog, so yeah, why not? Let's go for a tux. Let's get one. And that is absolutely of critical importance. So yeah, brilliant. Cool. Let's get back to some of the questions that I've got prepared then. Someone has asked me, oh yeah, the Carnival Pride's Wi-Fi. Yes, it will be strong enough for a COVID call, but no, it is not strong. So Carnival is one of the worst for reliability of the Wi-Fi. I'll give them that. But it is fine. I mean, you can get the streaming package with Carnival and be able to watch Netflix and things very slowly on poor quality potentially, but it is stable enough, I think, to do the COVID call. If you have any issues using the Wi-Fi for this, please go to guest services and let them know, because it's in their best interests to help you get that COVID test done, because they're the ones that have mandated that you need to do it. So yeah, talk to them. They'll assist you as best they can. And remember, on all Carnival cruises, there is an IT desk, and there'll be people there who'll be able to help you. If they can't do it on your device, they may be able to let you do it on one of the fun hubs that they've got there as well. Okay, what is the VIFP program like? Well, I've actually just made a video on this. I've just done a whole, well, I'm in the middle of doing a series of videos each week at the moment, where I take apart each major cruise line's loyalty program, explain the tiers, how you get to each tier, and the benefits you get at each tier. So please go and visit that. You can find that from my channel. But the VIFP program, I think, is really good. It's one of the programs that does build slower. So you jumped ranks quite quickly, but you don't really get or see the great benefits until you get to gold and higher. I think platinum's where it really hits its stride. So I'm gold at the moment. I'm hitting platinum after this cruise on the Pride. So this will be my last gold cruise. And then I'm really excited for my transatlantic to finally have all of the free laundry and all of the lovely priority benefits. So yeah, go check out that video if you want to learn more about that. Another question, can you use cash for your onboard spends? Yes, you can. So what you can do is, when you get on board, instead of using your credit or debit card to sign into your room, you can go to guest services and give them cash, and they will put that cash as credit on your account. That gives you a really good way of budgeting for your cruise. So if you, for example, say I'm going to put $300 on my room, and then you realize, oh, I've spent 200, I've only got 100 left, you can keep yourself into a budget, or you can keep going down and giving them more cash and just covering it that way. I've known a lot of people who like to have it on their have a credit card on their account, but then they'll every day or every couple of days they'll go down to guest services and just clear the account with cash. That's perfectly fine too. Everybody does things differently. I think it's really important to understand that everybody who cruises differently. We all save differently. Some of us can afford one cruise every 3 years, and it's a big deal. We've saved up a lot for it. Some people cruise every 3 weeks. Everyone has different incomes and different ways of spending, and yeah, they provide for that, and it's a really great opportunity to keep yourself on a budget. Can I remove the tips? Now, this is a question that everyone hates, and it causes a lot of drama on the forums and on Facebook and everywhere. Yes, you can. Should you? That's your conscience. At the end of the day, the argument we see a lot is that Carnival and other companies, restaurants, things like that, should pay service staff more. It shouldn't necessarily be the passenger or the diner's job to subsidize their income. However, in the US, this is the way things are. Hospitality staff are paid lower because they're expected to get tips. So yes, you can remove your tips, but remember what that means and what that is doing to those people. They're going to make less money and they work really hard. So if you can afford to keep those tips on there and keep them getting that extra income, then ideal, please do. But if you absolutely can't and you have to remove them to afford the cruise, then potentially that's something that you can do. But also remember that these tips are part of the cruise. So when you're budgeting for a cruise, I would always recommend budgeting those tips in. And the great thing with Carnival is that you can actually prepay your tips. So you don't have to worry about them all being applied on the last night and going, whoa, that's suddenly a huge jump on my bill. You can pay them in advance and make sure that's done months before you even got on the ship. And that's something I didn't know when I first started cruising. And when the gratuities got added to my bill, I was just having a heart attack. Oh, thank you for the super chat sticker there from Justin. Thank you so much. That's really helpful and cool to see. Okay, next question. And this is an interesting one. It's from Renee. I've never thought about this one. This was, can you get your meal from the MDR to go? Now, for people who don't know what MDR is, that's just main dining room. Now, I know you can take leftovers with you. I've not seen anybody take an entire meal home with them. I have seen as well people taking their dessert back to their rooms, especially if they want to, for example, have their dessert on the balcony. Also, if you've had a birthday or a celebration and the dining room bought a cake for you, or somebody's bought you a cake from the fun shops beforehand, you'll often want to take that back to the room. You're not going to sit there and eat a whole birthday cake in one sitting. Well, you might. But I'm not sure if you could take your whole meal back. If you do want a meal in to go, then there's room service. Now, the room service menus have recently changed, and they've now been split into a free section and a extra charge section, and they do change based on time. So overnight, so the late times, there's a less menu. So do keep an eye on that. Okay, Roxanne has a few questions specifically about this cruise on the Pride. So I'll go through a couple of those. So the number one thing that you can't miss and you have to do, or you should try and do at each of the ports on the Carnival Pride Fjords cruise. So I've put together a quick rundown of these, so I won't spend too much time. So Stavanger, you want to go to Spjørdefjell. That's the 3 giant Viking swords that are in rock. It's a cool monument. If you haven't seen my video for each of the ports, they're all in there as well. I've done a video on every single port, giving you the excursions and things that you should do. That's a really good one. It's really exciting. Let's have a look. Skjolden, the Sengjebirget viewpoint. Now, this is a really popular viewpoint you can go to. It's about a mile's walk from the village, and it's a viewing area. It's 395 feet up to the viewing point, and you can see all across the fjord. But be aware, it is not very well signposted, so you might need to look around or use Google Maps. We talked about Google Maps and how useful it is on a cruise. Olden, the must-do tour here is to go and see the Briksdal Glacier. It's the most well-known glacier arm in the fjords and really, really recommended. Either do it yourself or you can take an excursion here. If you get an excursion, there's a tour that actually takes you to the visitor centre as well, so you can do that, and you can take the troll car as well. It's like a little vehicle, which is fun. Bergen, there's the funicular railway. This is a bit up the mountain, so it's like a cable car that you can go up and get really good views, and you can see the ship from above, which is really cool, which is what we did in Santorini. We were able to see the ship from above. It was really, really fun. Allison, again a viewpoint there, is Fjellstua viewpoint. It's 400 plus steps though, so be aware if you have mobility issues, that's not going to be as easy to do. Mold, there's the Mold Panorama. There's a spot here, similarly a viewpoint, where you can actually see the view over all of the mountain peaks. That's really, really beautiful. There's also a cafe at the top to reward you for your efforts. Okay, next question from Roxanne was, are ship excursions really necessary, or are there independent excursion operators at the ports? They're absolutely not necessary, no. There will be independent tour operators at most cruise ports, and that's not just in Norway, that's in the Caribbean, that's in all over the place. There's always going to be people there to try and sell their wares and get you on their tour, and it's often a lot cheaper if you get off the ship and find them and just do it yourself. And it's often the same excursions as what you would have gotten on the ship. The benefit, however, to booking a shore excursion with the cruise line is that they guarantee to get you back to the ship in time. So if it's running late, there's traffic issues, the ship will not leave without you because you've booked through the cruise line. There have been plenty of people who've gone on a cruise, done something on their own, come back late, and the ship will go without you. And you have the option then of trying to find a way to get to the next port to reboard the ship, because they've got your luggage. Not great. So do be aware of the risks. I often do things on our own. In Europe, we'll just get trains everywhere, or we'll just go do our own thing. So I don't have any excursions booked for the Carnival Pride because I just think it's all about the beauty of the area, and I'd like to just explore that myself. And I'm quite good with my tech, so while I'm walking around, if I find something and I want to learn about it, I can just Google it on my phone and learn about it myself rather than having a tour guide. But there are places in the past where I've both booked short excursions on the cruise line and booked excursions in the port. So I've done it all of the options. So really, really good there. Let's have a look. Next one. Best tour operators in London for pre-cruise days. So I always check out Viator, the website. You can often find some really good tours on there. Lots of companies advertise through Viator, and because you're booking through a service like that, you do have some level of guarantee and physical tickets and things like that. But also look at places like the Big Red Bus Tour Company, if you like hop on, hop off bus tours, and city sightseeing as well. Also, there's lots of tour operators in London that will sell tickets in places like Piccadilly Circus, Leicester Square and Trafalgar Square, the big tourist squares basically. And there'll be places to go and get things. You'll see big sort of pop-up booths that will say tourist tickets and things like that. But also when you're in London, one of the big things to do is to go and see a West End show. Just like New York has Broadway, London has the West End, and there's lots of opportunities. My biggest recommendation for this is to go to Leicester Square, and there's a company there called Tickets, TKTS, and they do last minute tickets for shows, often even as low as half price. So it's a really good opportunity to turn up on the day and get some really good tickets. So what else have we got here? What is your favourite cruise port and why? So my favourite cruise port I've ever been to was Covert in Montenegro, and the reason why this was such a memorable one for me is because we were never supposed to go there. We were on a cruise, I think it was on the Carnival Breeze. It was a Mediterranean cruise, and we were supposed to be going to Livorno that day for Pisa and Florence. However, somehow there was a mess up that the cruise ship port there got double booked and there was no room for a ship as big as ours to dock there. And so they cancelled that port and we went somewhere else, and we went to Covert in Montenegro. It was a very last minute thing. It was very exciting. I'd never even heard it. And we sail into this beautiful bay, and it's a walled city, very, very old, beautiful Mediterranean town, and I would absolutely love to go back there. So I'm looking at all the opportunities next year for itineraries in the Med that go to Covert, so I really want to go back. And the final question I have here is, do you buy the drinks package? Now this is very changeable depending on the cruise line. I have never paid full price a la carte for a drinks package. However, Norwegian have the free-for-alls where they give you the premium drinks package on certain deals. It works differently in the UK to the US. In the UK, we pay £99 to upgrade to the free at sea and get all of the packages. I know it's different in the US. I think you have to pay gratuities on it or something. With Princess, we did get the Princess Plus package, which gave us the free drinks, or the premium drinks package. They're not free really because you paid for it, but that was a good one. And just now we got off the MSC, we had the drinks package there, and that was good as well. My favourite one was definitely Norwegian for the drinks package. I thought it was very just chilled the way it worked, but the best drinks I've had have been on Princess, definitely. Their Good Spirits at Seas bars are beautiful. I've not got the drinks package on Carnival Pride because it's just so expensive for how little we actually drink. We're not massive drinkers. We'll have maybe 1 or 2 cocktails a day and wine with dinner, so it's really not economical for us. And so no, I haven't got it for this cruise. To see if there's any final questions in here. No, that's everything. So I will leave you all with that. I hope you've enjoyed the live Q&A and answers to the questions have helped you with your planning. I'm going to do these more often. Obviously, going to be more general rather than just very focused on one cruise. So I really enjoyed doing this, and I'm hoping you guys had a good time as well. In the meantime, the next video you'll see on the channel will be on Sunday, and that will be returning to the cruise loyalty programs, and we'll be looking at a cruise line I have not yet sailed with, which is Celebrity. So I'll see you on Sunday, guys. Thanks.